So I always think it's worth discussing people, especially non-politicians, especially when politicians take them on as advisors, because what is this advisor actually going to advise our Prime Minister on? And of course the person I'm talking about, of course, is Dominic Cummings. And Andrew Adonis goes through The Independent, has read through and literally collected Dominic Cummings' blogs, and I was thinking of going through some of his blogs as well, but it's sort of already been done for me, and collating them into one. And yeah, we should be worried about what this guy is actually advising our Prime Minister on. So now Dominic Cummings is joint Prime Minister. We have to take him seriously as more than ever a vote leave operative. I have therefore been reading all those incredible blogs on Bismarck, eugenics and American fighter pilots. I thought they'd be weird, and actually they are dangerous. The weird bits are the obsession with physical combat and IQ. This explains the wild pulgerism and why Michael Gove, the first of Cummings' minister pupils, did so much to wreck England's schools by decreeing that fewer and fewer teenagers should pass more and more exams. I see Cummings now plans to, quote, Darwinise the nation. Not just the education system. Enter Otto von Bismarck, founding Chancellor of the Second Reich. It's hard to conceive a more dangerous inspiration. Bismarck's motto was blood and iron. He hated not just socialists and the French, but liberalism and European cooperation on any basis of human rights and conciliation. He believed in the master and the inferior races, the inferior being all but the Prussians, and distrusted Germany's churches for their ethics and absolute authority. He disliked Britain as a hotbed for parliamentarism and an unreliable ally for reactionary conservatism. It seems to me that Cummings laps up all of this, and far from excusing Bismarck's excesses, I think he applies them to Brexit Britain. Bismarck's one saving grace, his schemes for social insurance intended to forestall the Social Democrats, is unmentioned by Cummings, since it sits so uneasy with the Brexit project. To, in Lord Lawson's words, complete the Thatcher revolution. Also telling is the fact that Cummings never mentions Bismarck's liberal contemporary, William Ilbert Gladstone, who propelled Britain and much of the non-German Europe towards democracy and self-government. The People's William championed constitutional liberalism, while he soundbited as trust in the people, temperance by prejudice. So is prejudice by prudence, in opposition to Bismarckian conservatism of distrust the people tempered by fear. For Bismarck, the currency was fear and conquest to the absolute limits of a modern state. Politics, Bismarck said, is like visiting a country. One does not know with people who does not know whose reactions cannot be predicted. When one person puts a hand in his pocket, the other person is already drawing his gun. And when he pulls the trigger, the first one fires, and it is too late to ask whether the requirement for common law with regard to self-defence applies. This world of shoot or be shot. This is a world of shoot or be shot. There is little role for institutions based on deliberation, cooperation, and conciliation, nationally or internationally. Bismarck never reconciled himself to parliamentary politics, at which Gladstone was a master, creating Britain's modern parliamentary system. His rule was an extension of the power of the Prussian Kaiser, rebranded as the Emperor of Germany after unification. While eventually he resigned in 1890, it was because he fell out with the erratic Kaiser Wilhelm II, who went on to start the First World War and destroy European and destroy European liberalism in the dark age from which Churchill, the most brilliant product of Gladstone's parliamentary liberalism, ultimately rescued us. Cummings appears to agree with Bismarck's view that as soon as parliamentary representatives assemble, they are dumb in the mass. He praised China for its ability to, quote, erect skyscrapers in a week, while Parliament delays Heathrow expansion for over a decade. How hackneyed Parliament last year a vote by 10-1 to expand Heathrow, and modern London is still full of skyscrapers. By putting Bismarck on a pedestal, Cummings adds his own blend of rationality and fetishism. Parliaments do not necessarily or reliably perform on the same alchemy as the wonders of succession of information markets. The wonders of the great hack and the reliability alchemy of the Russian state are and the last Brexit campaign. Surprise, surprise, Cummings already appears to be scheming to override Parliament, and this week spat out his drink while laughing when it was suggested that Parliament could force Johnson and him to resign if they attempted to force through a no-deal Brexit. Bismarck's memorial in Berlin depicts him wielding a sword surrounded by statues of Atlas, Siegfried and Germania. Gladstone's statue is on the Strand, encircled by brotherhood, aspiration, education and courage. I know which I prefer, and it is better for Britain and Europe. And yeah, Cummings is dangerous, you know, and Bismarck, even though, again, he is an interesting character, Bismarck was always very much one for a royalist, autocracy. Yeah, there was the German parliament, but it didn't, the Kaiser, at the end of the day, was the one who had the final say on everything. And Bismarck did right. In fact, if you want to watch the extra credits, extra history they call it, they did on Bismarck. Yeah, he's a really actually fascinating character, but at the same time he held beliefs that were not at the slightest with anything we would recognise today as being liberal. He was massively a reactionary conservative who was one for, he wanted the Kaiser to remain in power and hated socialists, but he knew that this was a rising thing, hence why he brought in things like insurance and social security to head them off at the pass, to essentially quell them and cut off the teeth to a bit. And this guy's now in power and is apparently running so many tricks to eventually try and push through a no deal without consulting Parliament, which would be an insult to parliamentary sovereignty, something that the Brexiteers campaigned on as a one of their core tenets. So